have 7 fun summer romance reads for you. In particular, they are paranormal romance reads. So don't worry, you have plenty of time to get through all of these books, especially because they're so amazing. You're not going to be able to put them down until you get to the end. Hi everyone, I'm Lisa, and on this channel we talk all about romance books. So if this sounds like you or something you might be interested in, make sure to hit the subscribe button below. We post new videos every week. So my first 2 suggestions are both from Gina Showalter. Now she's one of my favorite authors, and there's really not been anything from her that I didn't like. However, to be fair, I have not read any of her young adult books. I have only stuck with the adult steamy content, and that's the same thing you're going to find in here. So just warning, if you're worried about heat levels and you're worried there won't be enough heat, there is plenty of heat in these both of these books. So the first one is Heartless, and this is first in the Immortal Enemies series. Now this has a really great unique spin on the Fae universe, and it's basically, if you remember that movie Return to Me with David Duchovny and Minnie Driver, this is basically the paranormal version of this. So the main character has been in prison, and like his sister has been taken from him, so he's really upset and he wants revenge, and he wants revenge specifically on the guy that did this to him. And so what he's going to do is he's going to seduce this guy's wife, and then his child will be on the throne for that kingdom. Now the only problem is she ends up dying, the woman that he's trying to seduce, and then she gets transformed into a human and lands on the regular earthly plane. And but she dies, right? But she becomes an organ donor to another woman who needs her vital organs. And so he says right before she dies that she needs to come back. She has to find a way to come back to him. And so the new organs end up finding a way to come back to him. And so this woman who just got this life-saving transplant thinks everything is great and somehow magically gets transported back to the Fae world and then ends up going back to her main character. So very excited to read that. One, it's a really unique twist, and 2, I love Gina Showalter. Now, if you really like Gina Showalter, it is best to read these books in order, but she did just start another new series. I believe this one came out in the spring, in April, and this is The Warlord, and this is the first in the Rise of the Warlord series. Now, it took a character, Talia, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, from the Lord of the Underworld series, and put her as the main character in this book. So she is a really strong, like ninja's probably not the right word, but like Fae fighting hero. And in this book, she is able to maintain her strength, support, and keep all of her people safe by remaining a virgin. However, the king in the other kingdom, she has to end up marrying him because I don't want to spoil it for you, but she has to end up marrying him in order to keep, peace in the universe. And so then it becomes like a war, almost like War of the Roses, because only one spouse can survive. And so it's kind of a enemies to lovers kind of trope. The next book is All Fired Up by Jen Burke, and this is first in the Ashes and Dust series. Now, this character, the main character, Evan, is a vampire private investigator, and it's a spinoff from Not Dead Yet, in which he was actually turned into a vampire. Now, this whole book is told from his POV, and he's not supposed to be taking on any paranormal cases right now, but of course, someone requests it because there's a lot of paranormals dying and they're losing their magic and nobody can figure it out. So he goes ahead and he takes the case, and he ends up meeting Colin. Now, Colin's kind of in a trance. He doesn't know what's going on, and it's been years that he's been like this. And somehow Evan's able to snap Colin out of it, and they discover 2 things. One, Colin used to actually be engaged to a woman, and he was a firefighter, and now the 2 of them are cosmically bonded. So if something happens to one, it happens to the other. Like if one dies, the other dies. So they're really kind of stuck together, looking out for each other. And of course, they end up falling in love. Now, I did peek ahead to the second book, which is not out yet, and Colin and Evan are still in there and they are together. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get the next book from Colin's POV, which would be kind of fun and interesting, but this is a fun new series to definitely check out. The next book is Rare Vigilance by M.A. Grant, and this is number 1 in the Whitehorn Agency series. Now, this is a paranormal bodyguard romance, and the main character is Atlas. He's an ex-Marine, and to make money, he now caters to the rich and famous. And he's been attacked back when he was a Marine. He has no idea what happened. He has these weird scars. He's trying to find answers. So it's kind of like an underlying theme. However, he gets assigned Christian, who's obviously a very sexy guy. He ends up being attracted to him, and he thinks he's like just another entitled rich guy. But it turns out people are hunting Christian down, and it's the exact same people that have something to do with the attack that left him with all these weird scars and these weird powers. So they are now super interconnected. The next book is Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moning. Now, this is number 1 in the Fever series. There are 11 books, and it's hard to describe without giving it away, but basically you want to start with the first book. Otherwise, you'll totally be lost in all of the others, but they're so worth it. So basically, the main character finds out that her sister's been murdered, and she has only one clue that leads her back to Ireland, so that's where she heads off to, and then she discovers that she actually has superpowers, and there's this whole world of fae guys. Now, I will say, if you like super, super cocky alpha males and incredibly high heat level, this is definitely the series for you. So I loved it. I think I'm on book 10 right now. 11 just came out earlier this year, so I am looking forward to reading that for the rest of my summer vacation. The next book is A Quick Bite by Lindsay Sands. Now, this is number 1 in the Argano Paranormal Romance series. There are 32 books in this series, so you are probably overwhelmed, but you should also just be excited that if you like this series, you can keep going on, which is pretty much the whole point of paranormal. Is they just keep going. They create a world that you absolutely love. So this book is about Lizzie Ann, and she is a vampire that is afraid of blood. So she's not the undead. She was born a vampire. Her whole family's vampires. So it's a new twist on vampire origin stories, which I always appreciate. And in this one, it's her birthday. She goes to her parents' house, and she finds a sexy psychologist tied up to a bed as her birthday present. So he's just supposed to be a snack. They don't actually kill the vampire. She's like a do-gooder kind of human, even though she's 200 years old. She looks like she's 25, and she like works at homeless shelters and helps people out. So she's like a very likable person, especially because she like has this problem with not liking blood. So there's a tiny bit of mystery in there, but not a lot. In fact, you could probably ignore it if you really just wanted to focus on the romance. But I really like this series, and you could actually, in my opinion, you could probably jump into any book in the series and still enjoy it and be just fine. The last one is A Wolf in Duke's Clothing. And as you can probably guess from the title, this is about a duke who turns into a werewolf. Now, this is a historical paranormal romance, or as my friend Liz likes to call them, a para-historical. This is number 1 in the steamy shapeshifter Regency romance by Susanna Allen, and it was described as Bridgerton meets the werewolf within. So basically, this duke has to find a mate, otherwise all of his pack is going to go extinct. And then we have this spunky heroine who doesn't want to get married. She wants to stay single because once she reaches 25, she will inherit a huge sum of money, so she doesn't need to be married at all ever. However, she's not 25 yet, and the Duke is very appealing. So that is the last of my 7 recommendations for summer paranormal romances. I hope you love this list. I hope your summer is going fabulously, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.